Millionaire woman marries a man for charity, then discovers he saved her life years ago. Victoria Sterling stands at the floor-to-ceiling windows of her Manhattan penthouse, surveying the city that bows to her financial empire. At 34, she commands a fortune worth $800 million, built from a tech startup she founded in her Harvard dorm room. Her reflection stares back, immaculate blonde hair, designer suit, and eyes that have learned to see the world in terms of profit margins and strategic advantages. The morning sun catches the headlines scrolling across her phone. Tech mogul Victoria Sterling announces revolutionary charity initiative. What the media doesn't know is that this initiative wasn't born from altruism, but from necessity. Her company's stock has been declining for months following a series of public relations disasters. Her board of directors made it clear she needs to rehabilitate her image or face removal as CEO. That's when her publicist Sarah Chun presented the most audacious idea yet: a charity marriage. Not just any marriage, but a union with someone from the opposite end of the economic spectrum, broadcast live and documented for a year-long reality series. The proceeds would fund education programs for underprivileged children, and more importantly, it would transform Victoria from a cold corporate executive into America's sweetheart. The selection process had been methodical. Hundreds of applicants were screened, interviewed, and analyzed. Victoria needed someone genuine, someone whose story would tug at heartstrings without overshadowing her own narrative. The chosen candidate surprised everyone: Michael Torres, a 36-year-old EMT from Queens. Michael's application was refreshingly simple. No sob story about poverty, no desperate plea for money. He worked 2 jobs: emergency medical technician during the day, night security guard on weekends to support his elderly mother who suffered from early-onset Alzheimer's. His motivation for applying wasn't personal gain, but the hope that the charity proceeds might fund better dementia care facilities in their neighborhood. Victoria first meets Michael at a carefully orchestrated coffee shop encounter in Brooklyn. Cameras rolling for the documentary crew. He arrives in his EMT uniform, having just finished a 12-hour shift. She notices his tired eyes, the way he carefully counts his change before ordering black coffee, and how he unconsciously checks his phone, probably worried about his mother. He's not what she expected. Where she anticipated nervousness or starstruck behavior, Michael displays quiet confidence. He asks thoughtful questions about the charity's goals, demonstrates genuine concern for how the funds will be distributed, and shows no interest in her wealth or status. When photographers appear, he doesn't preen or pose. He simply continues their conversation as if the cameras don't exist. The media frenzy begins immediately. Photos of their coffee meeting flood social media within hours. The contrast is striking. Victoria Sterling, the ice queen of Silicon Valley, sitting across from a working-class hero. The public's response is overwhelmingly positive. #charity couple trends worldwide, and Victoria's stock prices begin there. First upward movement in months. The wedding planning becomes a spectacle orchestrated by the best event planners money can buy. Victoria chooses everything: the venue, a restored mansion in the Hamptons; the flowers, white orchids flown in from Thailand; the menu, a fusion of comfort food and haute cuisine to represent their different worlds. Michael's only request is that his mother be comfortable and that the ceremony be respectful, not a circus. As the weeks pass, Victoria finds herself studying Michael from a distance. During planning meetings, he defers to her decisions, but offers surprisingly insightful suggestions. He recommends a local bakery instead of the celebrity chef she hired, not for cost savings, but because they employ formerly incarcerated individuals trying to rebuild their lives. He suggests donating the floral arrangements to local hospitals after the ceremony. Each suggestion reveals a man who thinks beyond himself, even in extraordinary circumstances. The night before the wedding, Victoria lies awake in her penthouse, staring at the marriage contract her lawyers prepared. It's a business arrangement, pure and simple. 1 year of marriage, carefully choreographed public appearances, and then an amicable divorce. She tells herself this is just another business deal, another strategic move in the game of wealth and power. But something nags at her, the way Michael looks at her sometimes, as if he recognizes something she doesn't even see in herself. There's a familiarity in his gaze that she can't place, a warmth that seems to come from somewhere deeper than their brief acquaintance. The wedding day arrives with all the pomp and circumstance her money can buy. 500 guests, including celebrities, politicians, and media personalities, gather in the manicured gardens. Victoria walks down the aisle in a custom Vera Wang gown worth more than most people's annual salaries. She sees Michael waiting at the altar in a rented tuxedo, his mother beside him in a wheelchair, confused but smiling. As they exchange carefully scripted vows, Victoria notices Michael's hands are shaking slightly. Not from nerves, she realizes, but from exhaustion. He worked a double shift the day before because one of his colleagues called in sick. Even on his wedding day, fake though it may be, his first instinct was to help others. The reception is flawless, documented by dozens of cameras for the reality series. Victoria plays her part perfectly, the transformed businesswoman, learning to love beyond money and status. She dances with Michael under twinkling lights, poses for photographs, and gives interviews about how this experience is changing her perspective on life. But as the night wears on, she catches moments of authenticity that the cameras miss. Michael, gently helping his mother eat, his protective stance when photographers get too close to her, the way he thanks every single vendor and staff member by name. She realizes that while she's acting the part of a better person, he simply is one. The chapter closes with Victoria and Michael in separate bedrooms of her penthouse. Their arrangement is strictly platonic, outlined clearly in their contract. She stares at the wedding ring on her finger, a simple band that cost more than Michael's annual salary. Through the thin walls, she can hear him on the phone with his mother's night nurse, his voice gentle and patient as he explains he'll be home tomorrow to check on her. For the first time in years, Victoria Sterling questions whether the most valuable things in life can actually be bought. 3 months into their marriage of convenience, Victoria and Michael have settled into an unexpected rhythm. Their public appearances are flawless performances, charity galas, hospital visits, and carefully staged, intimate moments for the documentary cameras. The media celebrates their unlikely love story, and Victoria's company stock has reached all-time highs. But privately, cracks are beginning to show in Victoria's carefully constructed walls. Michael's presence in her sterile penthouse has brought unexpected changes. He leaves books about social justice on the coffee table, replaces her expensive bottled water with a simple filter system, and fills her refrigerator with homemade meals he prepares for his mother and brings over to share. Victoria finds herself looking forward to their quiet evenings together, when cameras aren't rolling and they can drop their public personas. Michael tells her stories from his EMT calls, not the tragic ones, but moments of human connection that reveal his deep empathy. An elderly man who holds his hand during transport, a scared child who stops crying when Michael sings softly, families who send thank you cards years after emergency calls. She begins to understand that Michael's kindness isn't performed for cameras or contracts, it's simply who he is. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, Victoria starts to change. She notices employees she's never acknowledged before, learns the names of her building's security guards, and finds herself asking Michael's opinion on business decisions that affect workers' livelihoods. The turning point comes on a rainy Thursday evening in October. Victoria is working late in her home office when she hears Michael on the phone, his voice strained with worry. His mother has wandered away from her care facility, and despite an hours-long search, she hasn't been found. Victoria watches through her office doorway as Michael paces frantically, coordinating with police, calling hospitals, reaching out to his network of first responder friends. Without hesitation, Victoria closes her laptop and grabs her car keys. She drives Michael through the rain-soaked streets of Queens, searching areas where his mother might have gone, places from her past when her memory was intact. They check her old apartment building, the church she attended for 40 years, the park where she used to take Michael as a child. At 2 a.m., they find her sitting on a bench outside Michael's elementary school, confused and cold but unharmed. As Michael wraps his jacket around his mother's shoulders and gently guides her to the car, Victoria sees tears streaming down his face, not just relief, but the profound love of a son watching his mother disappear piece by piece into the darkness of dementia. During the drive to the hospital for a precautionary checkup, Michael's mother looks at Victoria with sudden clarity and asks if she's the woman from the accident. Victoria assumes it's confusion from the dementia, but something in the older woman's eyes seems lucid, focused. Michael quickly changes the subject, but Victoria notices his hands tighten on the steering wheel. The next morning, Victoria can't shake the feeling that there's something Michael hasn't told her. She begins to investigate, using resources her wealth provides. A private investigator, access to medical records, surveillance footage from years past. What she discovers stops her heart. 7 years ago, Victoria was involved in a near-fatal car accident on the FDR Drive. She was driving alone after a particularly brutal board meeting, upset and distracted when her car hydroplaned during a thunderstorm and crashed into the guardrail. The official report credits her survival to the quick actions of an EMT, who performed emergency surgery at the scene when her condition was too unstable for transport. That EMT was Michael Torres. Victoria stares at the accident report with shaking hands. The details she had blocked from memory come flooding back. The sound of metal crushing, the taste of blood, the feeling of drowning in her own car. And then, a voice cutting through the darkness, calm and reassuring, telling her to stay awake, to keep fighting, that everything would be okay. She remembers now. The paramedic who saved her life had kind eyes and steady hands. He stayed with her through hours of emergency surgery, holding her hand when she was conscious enough to be afraid. He was there when she woke up in the ICU, checking on her recovery, making sure she had everything she needed. But Victoria Sterling, consumed with getting back to work and maintaining her image of invincibility, never properly thanked him. She never even learned his name. Her assistant sent a generic thank you card to the fire department, and Victoria pushed the entire experience from her mind, refusing to acknowledge her vulnerability or mortality. The investigation reveals more. Michael had checked on her recovery privately, asking the hospital for updates during his off hours. When he learned she had no family visiting, he anonymously sent flowers to her room with a note: "Keep fighting. The world needs your strength." Victoria remembers those flowers, the only genuine comfort during her recovery, but she never knew their source. The final piece of the puzzle is the most heartbreaking. Michael had followed Victoria's career over the years, reading about her business successes, her charitable donations, her gradual transformation from a young entrepreneur into a seemingly cold corporate executive. When the charity marriage program was announced, he didn't apply for the money or the publicity. He applied because he recognized her photo and hoped that maybe 7 years later, he could help her heal in a different way. Victoria confronts Michael that evening, her voice breaking as she shows him the accident report. She expects him to be angry that she never remembered him, never thanked him properly for saving her life. Instead, Michael sits quietly for a long moment before speaking. He tells her that he never expected recognition or gratitude. Saving lives is simply what he does. But he admits that her case stayed with him because during her recovery, in moments when she thought no one was listening, she spoke about her dreams, her desire to use her success to help others, to make the world better. He saw glimpses of the person she could become, buried beneath layers of corporate armor, when he saw how the business world had hardened her, how success had isolated her from human connection. He hoped their arrangement might remind her of who she truly was underneath the wealth and power. Not because he wanted to change her, but because he believed that person was still there, waiting to emerge. Victoria realizes that Michael didn't just save her life 7 years ago, he's been trying to save her soul ever since. Their marriage of convenience has become something neither of them expected. A second chance at becoming the people they were meant to be. The story concludes with Victoria making the choice that surprises everyone, including herself. At a press conference meant to announce the success of their charity initiative, she does something unprecedented. She tells the truth, standing beside Michael, with cameras rolling and the world watching. Victoria Sterling admits that their marriage began as a business arrangement. She explains how she discovered that Michael had saved her life years before, how his quiet kindness had slowly transformed her understanding of what truly matters. She announces that their marriage will continue not because of contracts or publicity, but because she's finally learned the difference between having everything and having what matters. The charity will continue, but it will expand beyond their original scope, funded not just by donations, but by a significant portion of Victoria's personal wealth. The documentary series ends with Victoria and Michael visiting his mother together. No cameras present. Victoria sits patiently as the older woman forgets and remembers, offering comfort without expectation of recognition. She's learned that the most valuable gifts, kindness, patience, love, can't be bought or sold. They hold hands as they walk through the hospital where they first met 7 years ago. Both of them finally understanding that sometimes the most profound miracles happen not in grand gestures, but in quiet moments of human connection that echo across years, waiting for the right time to reveal their true meaning. Victoria Sterling discovered that the best investment she ever made wasn't in technology or real estate, it was in opening her heart to a man who had been quietly loving her long before she learned how to love herself.
Thank you for watching this story unfold with us here on M&A The Story Unfolds. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new tale. We'd love to know where you're watching. Leave a comment below and tell us what part of the world you're joining us from. Your support means everything. See you in the next story.